So for those who didn't hear the news, Xbox, aka Microsoft, has bought Activision Blizzard. And several months ago when they made the announcement that they bought Bethesda, and that was a multi-billion-dollar deal, everybody was like, oh man, that's one of the biggest things in gaming history, which it was at the time. And they're like, oh, nothing can beat that. And then this happens today for even more money, which is just absolutely insane. As you may or may not know, in recent months, and longer actually, there has been some major issues happening at Activision Blizzard. Some stuff that has happened that is very, very bad. And they are under lawsuits and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's really funny because Phil Spencer from Xbox put out a statement not too long ago talking about Xbox and Microsoft are going to have to think about their relationship with Activision Blizzard. And Sony put out something, and I believe Nintendo put out something, basically all these big companies and all these big CEOs saying, you know, Activision Blizzard, aka Bobby Kotick, if you don't get your stuff together, we're not going to let your games on our systems, or something similar to that. And so I think one of the reasons why Xbox made this deal is because they're like, listen, Activision Blizzard, you have a ton of great IPs, and you have a ton of great people that work at your studios, and essentially you're treating everybody like crap. So we are going to buy you, and we're going to come in, and we're going to clean house and get all the bad stuff out of there and make these companies great again. Now, of course, that's not the primary reason. There's been plenty of articles out today talking about what's been going on. But I definitely think that that is a side element of what happened today. So I want to talk a little bit about what this is going to do for Xbox. And for those who may not follow the wider gaming industry, even over the last 15 years or so, I'm sure most people know that there's a constant war between Xbox and PlayStation. Nintendo is kind of out there just doing their own thing, and then of course you have PC gaming, which is a side element. But it's always about Xbox versus PlayStation over the last 10, 15 years or whatever it's been. Back in the 360 era, it's known as Xbox winning that generation. Then, when it came to the PS4, Xbox One, PlayStation completely destroyed Microsoft. And so now we are going into this next generation with the PS5 and the Series X. And Xbox is basically like, we are not going to get beat 2 generations in a row. And they're doing a couple different things here. And I should back up and I should say that PlayStation won the last generation because of their exclusives. If you bring up a side-by-side list of the quality of exclusives between the two systems last generation, PlayStation just completely destroyed them. And so Microsoft is basically saying, okay, in order to fight PlayStation for the current generation that we're in now, we need to do 2 things. 1, we need to beat them at their own game. And 2, we need to do something that they are not. The thing that they are doing that they are not is Xbox Game Pass. The greatest deal in gaming right now. Whether you're playing on the Xbox or the PC. Like, it seems like every single week, it's like, here's a new game coming to Game Pass. Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. For $10 or whatever version you get, you have so many games you can play. And that includes they have made deals with both first party and third party to bring so many games on launch. Last year in particular, I played so many games because of Xbox Game Pass. And again, they were there day one. And PlayStation just has nothing like that. So which brings us into part 2 on that is Microsoft has to beat them at their own game. And if you go back about the last 12, 20-ish months, they have been buying studios. And as I mentioned, they bought Bethesda, bringing that massive catalog of amazing games over to Xbox. So, today, they buy Activision Blizzard, which gives them, as you can see on the screen, Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty being the big one. We'll talk about that here in a second. World of Warcraft, the biggest MMO ever made. Mobile market like in Candy Crush, StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, and many other very big IPs that are not listed here. And you can also see a list of some of these studios down at the bottom. So here's what this particular deal does for Xbox. One, Call of Duty is the number one thing on this list. Call of Duty is a game that comes out every year. It's extremely popular, especially with the kids. And it makes a crap ton of money. Microsoft now has the ability to pull that away from PlayStation. And this is something that will 100% happen. It's not going to happen right away. Same with Bethesda. If we go back to the Bethesda deal, there were some deals that were already in place. One great example would be Deathloop, which was a Game of the Year contender. That came out on PlayStation and PC only. A Xbox studio game that did not release on Xbox because it was a deal that was already set in stone and Xbox honored the deal. And so they're going to be doing that again here with Activision Blizzard. So like this year's Call of Duty will most likely be on every system. Next year's Call of Duty, again, probably every system. But then there, it gets cut off, and Call of Duty now becomes an Xbox-only game, which is really, really going to hurt PlayStation. Next up, I want to talk about World of Warcraft. For those who don't know, World of Warcraft randomly added controller support to their game last year for PC, and everybody thought that was very strange. If they can get World of Warcraft going on the Xbox, that is going to be probably the biggest MMO under their banner now. They also do have Elder Scrolls Online, which is very, very big as well. But World of Warcraft will always have that title as the biggest MMO ever made. When you look at the long-term numbers, you just can't compare with that. So basically, they bought into the MMO market with this deal. And WoW still makes them a lot of money, too. They now own the Call of Duty market. And you also got to remember, Xbox also owns Halo and Gears of War. When you look at Sony now, the PlayStation over the next several years, it's like, what do they have for shooters? Not looking good. We also have some new games coming out. Diablo 4 has already been announced. Overwatch 2 has already been announced. Those games are now going to be Xbox exclusive. So that's a hell of a deal for them. Candy Crush comes from obviously Candy Crush, massive game. But getting Candy Crush and that studio also puts them deeper into the mobile market, which is massive. Then you have some other stuff. Again, StarCraft is listed here. Heroes of the Storm is not. Those are a couple of games that essentially had fallen off. And so a lot of people are hoping that... Oh, also Hearthstone is not listed here. Another massive game. But StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm in particular are two games that had really fallen off. and Blizzard had basically given up on them. I'm wondering if this will give those two games new life. Like, go ahead and make a StarCraft 3 at this point, continue the story. I'm sure a lot of people would be very, very happy. The next thing that this deal gives them is, for the younger people in chat, you might not realize the fact that Blizzard was essentially the first esports company. Blizzard kind of invented esports. And that is something that they have always done with many of their games. So this puts Microsoft into esports bigger than what they have ever been. You got the Overwatch League, which is massive. Call of Duty, which is massive. StarCraft, again, StarCraft was essentially the first esport. The original StarCraft. And again, it's kind of fallen off. Heroes of the Storm, still a crazy esport. I believe, and this is off the top of my head, you guys might remember that ESPN did something called Heroes of the Dorm, I think it was called. And that is when essentially network or cable television started to experiment with showing esports on TV for the first time. And so Heroes of the Storm was able to claim that honor. But yeah, just in the end, it gets Microsoft into so much more on the esports level of things, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, those are kind of the high level categories. And it's going to be just very interesting to see what happens over the next 5, 10 plus years. It's been really interesting to see on the Bethesda side, and even some of the other studios, Ninja Theory and In Exile and some of the others that have now been with Microsoft for like a year, 2 years, whatever it's been. And you've got people like Brian Fargo and some of the others that have now come out and said, being with Microsoft, what has it done for the company? And I know Wasteland 3 in particular, there were some really interesting interviews that came out about that game, because that game was in development before the Microsoft purchase and then during the Microsoft purchase. And I believe it was Brian Fargo. He came out and said, like, yeah, Microsoft just gave us a bunch of money and we were able to do things that we weren't planning to do, that we weren't able to do before. And it was just, he just completely praises the experience. And so that is what we want to see with Activision Blizzard. And of course, the big news, going back to one of my original thoughts or statements on this, again, a lot of problems at Activision Blizzard. There's been a lot of people quitting, a lot of people fired, but the offender number one, aka Bobby Kotick, is still there and was still part of this deal. And so one of the big topics today was, what is Microsoft doing with Bobby Kotick? And according to the information that is out there, it appears that once the deal is finalized, Kotick is gone, which is what everybody wanted. So that is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, Blizzard or Microsoft and Xbox, Phil Spencer, they will hopefully go through all these studios, all these games, get everybody on the track that they want to be on as a team, and, you know, make Diablo 4 the game that everybody wants. You know, make World of Warcraft better. Oh, and another big subject, of course, Game Pass. And they've already said that essentially they are bringing over as many Activision Blizzard games to Game Pass as they possibly can. Which then brings in one topic I've heard quite a bit today. They're like, what if World of Warcraft comes to Game Pass? That would be like an incredible deal. Because not only are you getting regular World of Warcraft, but you're getting Classic WoW as well, and everything else with one Game Pass subscription, which is going to be absolutely incredible. I've heard some chatter today regarding whether or not moving forward WoW is going to get free expansions. It's probably too soon to tell for something like that. I've also heard some chatter about whether or not Call of Duty is going to be every year game anymore. And the chatter has been, let them take their time and not release a Call of Duty until it is done. Because essentially right now, they have 3 or 4 main studios, and then those studios just rotate their Call of Duties every 3 or 4 years or whatever the rotation is. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff. I can actually link this article if anybody is curious, but it just goes into some pretty baseline detail. A lot of the really interesting stuff that has come out today has been on Twitter. But yeah, here's the gaming team with old Phil at the top there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's been very interesting to watch Twitter today. One of the big things that I was looking for in particular on the Activision Blizzard side, there's been so many like strikes and people walking out and this and that. And I kind of wanted to know what their feeling was about this, and I've seen like nothing but like positive remarks on Twitter. Everybody seems to be very happy about this. So, very, very cool. Here, before we wrap up the video, let me take some questions from chat. Let me back up and see if there's anything in particular you guys want to discuss as we were going through that. Lantern Noir, how's it going? Let's see here. Schoolmaster was saying, you doubt it. Don't know if they can optimize it with a controller. I don't know if you missed that. They already have. You can play WoW PC controller right now. It actually works just fine. Let's see here. But yeah, Sony needs to... I mean, if I was Sony, I'd be shaking in my boots right now. Because as I mentioned, Microsoft is gonna hit them back with those exclusives, and they have Game Pass on top of that, and Sony can't match it right now. So let's see. Just kind of looking over chat to see. Oh, funny. Isle Rifleman says, "Does Minecraft care about putting Diablo on your phones?" I heard a really funny comment from somebody else today. And for those who may not get Isle Rifleman's reference, it was either the last BlizzCon or 2 BlizzCons ago when they were still doing like on stage stuff, they announced Diablo Immortal, a phone game, before they announced Diablo 4. And the crowd went very hostile on the Blizzard execs. And one of the guys on stage kind of lost his composure a little bit, and he says to the crowd, "What? You don't all have phones?" And the crowd was like, "Boo!" So the funny remark that I heard today was they will most likely do a BlizzCon again, but as part of Microsoft or some variation with it. And I think one of the opening lines that they should do is they should walk out on stage and they should say, "What? You don't all have Xboxes?" That'd be pretty funny. Synapse says, interesting that Microsoft has managed to keep its nose clean for this long. Funny enough, I mean, obviously they haven't done stuff as bad as like Activision Blizzard, but Phil Spencer did an interview not too long ago where he talked about like the early days and mistakes that they had actually made, and then once they figured out what they, couldn't do, essentially, they've been clean ever since. Yeah. But yeah, just overall, very exciting news. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Overwatch and Diablo being pretty much exclusive Xbox, when Call of Duty goes full exclusive Xbox, Is World of Warcraft coming to Game Pass, or even just the console? There's going to be a lot of stuff to look at with this deal. So we'll have to really keep an eye on it over the next couple of years. And going back to the Bethesda thing here for a second. I mean, when it was announced that all of these big Bethesda games are Xbox exclusives, PlayStation also took just a major hit. I mean, you know, we have Starfield coming out. They've already announced that Starfield is an Xbox exclusive, day one Game Pass. We're going to have a new Elder Scrolls coming out. There will be a new Fallout eventually. They have another big game coming out this fall called Redfall. And it's like the list just goes on and on and on. And those are all Xbox games now. Or Xbox and PC. So it's like, all right, Sony, what you got? There is a lot of rumors, I will say, that PlayStation is going to do their own version of Game Pass. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like Microsoft has such a lead on that. I don't know if they can catch up. And they also don't have the money that Microsoft does, which is pretty crazy. There was also, because one of the things that I was talking about today on Twitter was, I'm like, Sony, you guys need to do like a counter move. You got to buy somebody. And my first thought was they should probably look at buying Ubisoft. Because I think Ubisoft would be a great fit for them. You know, have Assassin's Creed, got to play it on PlayStation, you know, stuff like that. If I go to Twitter here real quick, Jeff Keighley just posted something I saw. Yeah, here we go right here. So, like, if you are wondering about other big companies that could be acquired, so it's like, what if one of them bought out EA for $38 billion? But yeah, Take-Two, Nexon, Bandai Namco, Embracer, Ubisoft. Ubisoft's only $7 billion. That's nothing. Konami, Square. I think Square would be... I mean, Square would have to go with Sony. They've done so many deals with like Final Fantasy and stuff like that over the years. If Sony doesn't buy Square, I'll be shocked. Capcom, Sega are some notables here, but that's just a very interesting list. Personally, I don't think EA would ever sell to anybody. They're like of the independents. I mean, they're up there. You know, when you own, you know, Madden and FIFA, games that most of us don't play, right? But those are like massive franchise. And of course they got, you know, BioWare and some other really big studios. So that's pretty interesting list. But for those watching on YouTube, I think we'll wrap it up the video right there. So love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Leave a comment down below. And we will see you guys next time. Have a good night. See you then.